Kofi is right to say we are impatient for change and that we want things to move quicker because we have the conditions. And I'm convinced this continent will move much quicker.
But how? Look, even if they say democracy is the answer, the recent elections, Ethiopia, Sudan, questions were raised not just by international monitors, but by the people in those countries themselves.
Listen, this is a continent of 53 countries. You may have, of the 53, you may have 5 countries where elections were not run properly. But you probably will have other 15 where elections were run properly.
Give us an example the world can look to.
My country Mozambique did elections, and the elections were considered fair and free.
Not one, but several elections.
Several elections. Please do count. Yeah, Ghana is one. South
yeah.
Africa is one. They are countries which run elections clean, fair, and free, and governments which are there are absolutely legitimate. The problem with the eyes of the rest of the world to us is that those successful stories do not count as the progress we are making. 2 or 3 of the wrong stories we have, they're the ones who define the 53 countries. I think that's something really I strongly would like to raise. In terms of being very severely critical, we are much more than, if you like, much more than anyone else, because we know that we have to demand of ourselves the best we can. The best we can perform. And you are right when you say, institutionally, we haven't found the right ways of bringing young people to take charge, to be in leadership.
It's coming.
Yeah, but it is coming.
You keep talking about the young people, and of course the future is there. So young people have been sending you questions, and one of the ones they asked was, why can't we attain democracy?
It's going to happen in 2 ways. In some places, the old generation are going to open space for the young and co-opt them, and everything will be all right. Elsewhere, where that doesn't happen, there will be revolutions. The young will have to make their own space, and they will do so.
Revolutions?
Yeah, sure.
Push
you
aside.
Like
the elders
it
are
cannot.
talking about young revolutions for Africa.
They're saying
I think so, yeah, sure.
if space is not open for the young people, they will make space themselves. Yeah. They will make it.
Let me look at it a completely different way. An African friend of mine said, maybe African countries don't need democracy. Look at Rwanda, which is now being praised for the steps it's taking, a great place to do business in Africa. And yet we're seeing a series, what many Rwandans and others have expressed concern about, growing repression in Rwanda. Does Africa need democracy in order to develop?
It's a lousy, it's a very racist thing, you know, I think, because, you know, traditional African society, if you wanted to be a king and remain a king, you wouldn't do it by being authoritarian.
But we've seen example after example.
Wait.
Just in Cameroon, Paul Biya has been in power for nearly 30 years.
Wait a bit. You know, when you think that even in England, when did you start being democratic? In the 13th century. Yeah. And you've just had an election where they're saying, no, this system is wrong. You've had that system for donkey's years. And now they're saying it's got to evolve. My dear.
Do you agree with this, Kofi Annan? Africans started to say these were excuses, that they talked about African solutions for African problems.
No.
You're a distinguished African. What is the solution?
No.
And you are looking at Kofi to say, Kofi is special, is different from other Africans. And that's another. You didn't say, you implied. You didn't say, you implied. Listen, I want again.
All of you.
I want just to respond to this thing that maybe Africa doesn't need democracy. I would say if I didn't want to be very kind, I would take offense on that, but I will not, because it's when the world look at Africans, you know, it's like, you know, they don't need this, they're doing this, but we are human beings. In universal terms, we have the same rights, we have the same aspirations as anybody else. There are no human aspirations which are valid for Europe and the United States which are not valid for Africans, for goodness sake. But we do have a history. We do have a history in which we're still dealing with, and at the same time we are embracing the new, and it's simply to give, I mean, a very attentive eye of how this transformation is taking place.
I think we have to understand that in traditional African societies, as Arch was saying, we had our own rules. No leader, even in the Ashanti Kingdom, the most powerful leader can be removed by the people. We call it, he can be destooled if he behaves autocratically and irresponsibly. And so the idea of holding leaders to account has been present in African societies for a long time. Yes, we are trying to build new societies, and we need institutions. The institutions are weak and needs to be strengthened. And we also need to get the leaders to understand that institutions are more important than the individual leader, so that the nation can ride the rough patches and move forward.
All of you joined the elders at the urging of Nelson Mandela because you have experience, influence to fix things. Each of you, if you could fix one thing in Africa right now, when the eyes of the world are on Africa, what would it be? Starting with you, Archbishop Tutu.
I would say our leaders. You know, our leaders give us, because the leaders who give inspiration, and we've got them. Well, we've shown it in this country with all of the problems that we had. When the world was expecting that we were going to engage in revenge, one leader gets up and inspires the people and says, no, we're not going to revenge. We're going to look for reconciliation.
So what is the lesson from Nelson Mandela then?
A leader who knows that he is there for the sake of the people.
Kofi Annan?
I think, as you say, the eyes of the world are on us, and we Africans are conscious of what our societies need. And I would want to see real focus on the poor and dealing with the issues of poverty and ensuring that everyone has enough to eat. We give the primary education, and we also ensure they are healthy. I would want to see a genuine effort to implement the Millennium Development Goals. We have 5 years to go. We are behind in some areas. I would want to see genuine effort and leadership to push us forward and help the poor.
Rosa Michelle?
I agree totally with what Arch and Kofi have said. But I would say then, if there is another major issue I'd like to fix, is seeing Africa changing the way it looks and treats women. Bring them at the center stage, one, of the decision making, second, of economic opportunities.
Dr. Ibrahimi?
And I think what we have been saying all along is that there is promise in Africa, that there are most of the ingredients for us to move forward are there. I think we have got to say that these last few years we haven't been using them properly. And that one of the main problems I see there is that there is too much injustice. And the gap between the haves and the have-nots has grown very, very big. And I think we've got to do something about that. That is what is going to empower those that are left behind, in particular women and the young.
Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Kofi Annan, Grasa Michelle, Lakhdar Brahimi, and thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you too.